Welcome back to Scientifically Beautiful. Welcome back to Scientifically Beautiful. This is your host, Dr. Christina Rahm, and I have the pleasure today to introduce you to two of my beautiful, wonderful, close friends, Crystal and Michael Archie.
We're happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, because I know it's odd. We've been laughing before we started shooting this because I've been interviewing people and talking to people throughout the world in different countries and different areas, but also have the privilege of getting to talk to people here in Nashville. And Nashville, Tennessee is a place that's very eclectic. We have people from all over that have done many, many things. And Michael and Crystal have 4 beautiful children, 6 beautiful children.
6, yeah.
6.
4 I gave birth to. 4 I have the stretch marks to prove.
I have those too. Crystal and I are very good friends. We both have 4 children, and then you guys adopted
2 from Ethiopia.
But they have more because I'm at their house a lot. And
yeah, we have a lot of kids.
A lot of
kids. It feels like a lot.
I've lost count.
And Crystal loves all of them. I
do.
Yeah.
I don't ever want them to leave.
Yeah, which is one of the things I love. We actually get to spend time with them, getting to know them personally and not just professionally. But Crystal has made a name for herself in not just the United States, but in different countries because of her heart and how she gives, and because of the things that she puts her name around, and because Michael and Crystal as a team have built different businesses and different things together. But one of the things I've always respected so much about both of them is they've utilized their gifts and then what they've made from their gifts to help so many other people. So
you're making us sound way better than you're making us sound good.
We're going to talk about it because it's really you guys are a power couple, but when I am around you all, I don't naturally think of you because I think of your hearts first before I think of what you guys have both done. But the underlying current of this show is to talk about life is tough, but you can be tougher. Because my background is science and medicine and clinical and research, we focused on a lot of that, and we're going to bring some of that into the talk. But we also are going to talk a little bit about your personal lives and how you got here. So I would love to start with both of you telling a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about your biggest challenges and what you've gone through to really get here. So I even have people talk about their childhood, but really just what sticks out in your mind that is part of you that's been one of the reasons that you've gotten here today.
OPKB. I told her not to ask me anything about science because that is not. I know nothing about science. She's my brainiac
she
friend.
knows about skin. I'll say that.
I know about skin. I know about skin, but yeah, some of the verbiage you use, it's like way over my head. But so we can talk about life. That's easy. It's just so funny. Like she said, we were laughing before we got started because we're just such great friends. It's weird to sit here in front with a mic and talking, but we absolutely love. We could sit and talk all day. We could literally sit and talk all day.
And we do sometimes.
And we do so. Yeah, late nights. All right. So our story. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Oh, you go first.
Okay. Jayla, my daughter, is in here. I call her Gorge. She says I tend to take stories and make them really, really long. And she's like, Mom, you need to learn how to shorten things. So I'll try to make a long story short. So, okay, I grew up in a small town, Pennsylvania. We both grew up in small towns in Pennsylvania. Very transparent. I'm always very real when I tell my story, completely honest. We both grew up on welfare. Our families didn't have much. I remember going with my mom lots of times, standing in lines, waiting to get cheese, government milk, government. Matter of fact, to this day, he will not eat cheese because he had a bad batch of government cheese one time, tore up his stomach, and
it pretty much ruined cheese for me.
He won't eat cheese
because I've ordered things before, and Michael's like, nope,
no cheese.
Yeah.
No
he
cheese.
will not eat cheese because of the bad batch of government cheese.
Yes.
But my whole life, growing up, I've seen nothing but poverty mindset. Alcohol, drugs, no aspirations, no dreams, no goals. It was just like, Crystal, your head's in the clouds. Not my mom. My mom, rest her soul, she was always encouraging and always believed in me. But I feel like everybody else around me in that small town, my family loved me, but they don't realize. I always tell people, be careful what you speak over people because it can affect their life more than you realize. And I was always told, your head's in the clouds, you're dreaming too big. You need to come down a few notches, reality. We all on welfare. You know what I mean? Like, this is the way it's going to be unless you go to become a doctor or a lawyer or something. We can't afford for you to go to college. So it was always in my head. Well, they were telling me that I was not going to be able to do much. But in my mind, I had ever since I was a little kid, I'm going to show you one day.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you one day. And it took being around some normalcy, like different people, different friends, different connections you would have, and you would go to their house, and it wasn't in a trailer. Like, I lived in a trailer. It wasn't, it was like a normal house. It was a normal family life without alcoholics and, you know what I mean? Yeah. No abuse, no violence. And I was like, there is normalcy in the world, and I want that.
Yeah.
That's what I want. And I can, even if I can't afford to go to college, I had a dream. I had a passion. I said, I don't care what it's going to take. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to go after whatever that is, no matter how many times everybody told me I couldn't.
Yeah.
So I'll let him but then when I met him at 18, fell in love, and we were young, dumb, in love kids after the first date.
Yep. First date.
First date, we were inseparable.
December 10th.
December 10th, 1994 was our first date. And we were inseparable. And 3 months in, we said, let's have a baby. We're not married. He's in college. I'm a cocktail waitress. I'm working 3 jobs because my family couldn't afford me to go to college. They couldn't afford to put me in an apartment. They couldn't afford to get me, So I went over to where it was Penn State University on that campus. I'm like, well, I can't go to college. At least I'm going to be on campus and pretend like I'm a college student. And I worked 3 jobs, and then one of the jobs met him. And like I said, we fell in love like immediately, 3 months in. Let's have a baby. So here I am at 18, got pregnant, just like my family and everybody else did, and just like they told me, not in school, just graduated high school, didn't go to college. Here I am pregnant, out of wedlock. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, crap, I'm doing exactly what they thought, exactly what they've been speaking over me. And again, I want to say, if any of my family ever listens to this, I love my family. I'm thankful for my family, and I'm thankful for the things that have happened to me in my life because it made me the person that I am. It made me strong. It made me have that drive. And I have family members that went down the same path as everybody else. Jail, drugs, alcohol, and then my sister and I and a few other cousins, we took a completely different path. Everybody has their own path to take, and they make their own decision. But so here I was, 18, pregnant, and then what did I do? I had to get on welfare, just like, you know what I mean? So it was just killing me.
That was hard.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because he's a college athlete.
Yeah. Michael was a professional football player.
Yeah, but he played.
He wasn't just a college athlete. He was a college athlete at Penn State. I mean, but he was in college.
Yeah, but when he was in college, he had 0 money. He was there on scholarship. He couldn't work, and he didn't have anything. So I had to go get on welfare during the whole pregnancy and delivering Jasmine. And he kept saying, we're going to get married, babe, but we didn't want to go to the Just the Peace. Neither one of us had money. Our families didn't have money for us to get married. So he's like, if all goes well and I stay healthy, I'm going to go pro, and then I'll give you the wedding that you wanted, that you dreamed of. So we ended up, after he was drafted by the Houston Oilers.
Now the Tennessee Titans.
We planned a wedding from Houston and got married in Pennsylvania. We were in Houston for 1 year, and then the team said they were coming to Nashville to become the Titans. So here we are. We've been here 24 years. 24 years. We've been in Nashville now. Loved it. Raised all of our kids here. And we, I've left so many things out to try to save a long story. There's so much in between that, and I'll let him, he might be able to remember stuff that I left out. But the moral of the story is we both came from nothing, struggle, financial hardship, and we both had a drive to do more. To do more. And to give our kids a better life. We didn't want them to have to struggle and worry, about how they were going to, get milk and bread and have to stand in a line for government assistance.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't want our kids to have to deal with the same thing. So we got our butts to work, and God is good. I always got to give God the glory for all of it, because it's because of him that all of these things, the doors were opened, the favor, the blessings, it's all the Lord. So.
Well, you use your gifts. It's one of the things I've noticed on the podcast, with no matter what people's occupation, no matter where they're from or what, they use the gifts they were given by God, and then they use those to the ability that they can, and they a lot of times prosper. But along the way, there's a lot of difficulties. And they don't just quit.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And I think another misconception is they think that if you've played professional football, or if you're beautiful, right? I'm just being honest. Or if you would pick a gift, if you're smart, they just think, well, then things
that came easy.
Yeah.
And then they think, well, then that's why you've made it in your life, and that's actually not true.
Right.
Because the ability, the looks, the intelligence, they don't get us to where we are here.
Yeah. So after, and you let me know if you want to. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Christina just said about the gifts. So playing in professional football, everybody, even as a young kid where I grew up, everybody's like, you're so gifted, you're so talented. And again, we give all glory to God, because that gift came from somewhere. But you got to know how to use it. You got to know how to work hard with that gift. So it's never easy. So even though I had the gift, I could have chose not to work hard at it. But I always decided I wanted to work hard at it and be the best who I can be with this gift. And so that enabled me to be able to have different outlets or different options in my life to be able to pursue some of the things or the dreams that I wanted to do, which was playing the NFL.
Because there was a lot of guys just in your hometown, just as talented.
Yeah.
Or you always tell me some of them where you felt like they were more talented.
I feel like the area where I grew up, and there was a lot of guys that were
very talented
athletes. Very talented athletes.
But they took the wrong path.
But they made different decisions in their life, what they wanted. But I grew up watching them. And so they inspired me. And it's like, but they would sometimes go and make wrong decisions and hanging out late night at the streets and
drugs
and alcohol and all this other stuff. And that's just something I didn't want to be a part of. So some of them never made it out of the situation. And so they just got stuck. And I just remember saying that I did not want that to be me. And so I did everything that I could to stay away from those type of things or activities.
Remove yourself from the situation.
Yes, all the time. And sometimes my kids, I tell them the story and they always say, oh, you were a goody two-shoe. And it's not that I was good all the time. It's just I just made, the right decisions on where I wanted to go and where I wanted to be. And so...
you always tell the kids, where there's smoke, there's fire. So get out of the situation.
Well, I always say it's not even that. It's not just showing up. It's also knowing when to leave.
Exactly.
I think there's a text group with our friends where I said it. Sometimes you need to know when to speak and then when to just not say anything.
Exactly.
I think that I've got to say, I'm going to give you kudos, by the way, both of you. Jayla works for this, and different International Science Nutrition Society, different companies that are there to promote wellness. And she's so good at her job, but it's because she works hard, and she's focused, and she's using her gifts, which are different than your gifts.
Totally different.
To apply
but it's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
I just think. I'm blown away with her.
You gave her that gift, or you showed her whatever your gift is, right?
Yep.
Which I think so many parents, professional athlete, you're a brand, Crystal, you've developed things all over the world. So many parents want their kids to be like them or follow in their footsteps, which you guys...
Oh, no.
I noticed that with all your kids. You let them be who they want.
And they're all
as long
really
as
different.
they use it
right.
and apply it.
And apply it. So, case in point, our firstborn son, Michael Jr. So he's Michael Archie Jr. like me. But one time we were in a school meeting and it made me smile. And he said, I remember something my dad always told me is that we have the same name, but different paths.
I love that.
So, and I would always tell him that.
You don't have to play football.
You don't have to play football. You don't have to do what I did.
Right.
And I don't live through you because I've already made my decisions on what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. So now you own up to your name and make it what you want it to be. And I'm proud of you no matter what. And all our kids, no matter what they choose to do. You don't have to do what what dad does or what mom
Right.
does. You don't have to, you decide what you want and then go after it and go get it.
Yeah. I've always liked that. I see that in all the things you guys do with the kids. Even when I watch your kids in sports, you care about them. But I mean, I've noticed with you, Crystal, you just want them to be happy.
Oh, yeah.
And to follow that. And I think that empowerment is something that helps our children and helped us. But I also think sometimes when your parents don't support, like what you said, because I love my family very much too. But to say that, I remember like saying, well, I don't want to go to Murray State University. I may want to go to Harvard. And I remember being told, well, that's not going to ever happen. And then, of course, later it did happen. But it wasn't that my parents didn't love me and support me.
Right.
They didn't have the financial ability. And then now they have a grandson, actually, my nephew, that is at Yale as a doctor. It's just life change. They didn't know. I don't think my parents were ever trying to hurt me. I've loved them so much.
Same.
But it was that path, but then that path led to my path.
Yeah.
And like your backgrounds. I've gotten to meet Michael's mother and her sister, and I think they're both amazing people, but they're even different than each of you. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So I think, that's something, just watching both of you, it's been amazing to see how you've done that, even transition, because I knew you before you went into this
when
career.
I was pushing the stroller.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do want to talk about is I do want, by the end of this, we'll talk about what your biggest challenge and how you overcame it.
Okay.
But I do want to talk a little bit about Ethiopia and your travel and what the state of healthcare was there, and how it was different, and how bringing the kids over from Ethiopia, how you've integrated them into the family, not just from a health perspective,
but everything.
And I always tell people, health for me, and really for everyone, should be not just physical health,
Right.
spiritual health,
emotional
and mental health, and you cannot have quality of life and improve quality of life unless you look at all of that.
Right.
You can't. So many people just think it's physical, and I was a psychologist, but really that's not why. It's that you can't really impact unless you look at everything. And even in the current state of what's going on with the pandemic, there's a psychosocial effect, right? There is a psychological second effect, and we sometimes call it a comorbidity even, because if your mind thinks you're not going to get better, it really generates the energy throughout the body. And I think for me, not to talk about me, nanotechnology, that was the study of energy, right? Quantum physics, bioscience engineering. Most people aren't Christians, or they don't believe in God,
Right.
And like for me, I want to tell Christians so bad, it's okay that we use different energy levels. It's okay because that's what we're composed of, and that's where it all comes from, right?
Right.
So I think when you brought, I wasn't there when you, I wasn't as close to you all at the time you brought the kids home then.
Right.
So I just wondered what that was like, what it was like going over there. You've used your gifts to go internationally, and we recognize that most people, for whatever reason, in the United States have not traveled unless they've gone to like a resort to go to the beach.
Yeah.
Right.
And so the problem is then they don't see the real world. And so when you hear about things happening in different countries, unless you've experienced that and seen that, you don't really, it's hard to imagine. Right. So I'd love you guys to share some of that experience of what that was like, integrating even into with your own children, but what the whole experience.
Oh, yeah. That was tough. Yeah. Remind me if I go off on a tangent on other things, and I might cry and I might get emotional because when I talk about Ethiopia, see, I'm already starting. It's just I was just crying about it today because it's been a year and a half since I've been over there, and I just want to get back so bad because it's my passion.
I'm sure you'll have people contact you from the show that
it's my heart. But so to go back to my childhood again, even though I grew up without much, I would sit in front of the TV and I'd watch. Remember when they used to show those telethons and they would show the kids with the distended bellies and the flies?
I used to stay up at night and watch that. Yeah.
I would literally watch that and I would cry as a kid, and it was my dream. I was like, I want to go to Africa. I didn't, but I remember even Ethiopia, it was specific. Ever since I was a little kid. I mean, it was so weird. People always ask me, why Ethiopia of all of Africa? I said, I don't know. God just put Ethiopia on my heart ever since I was a little girl. And it was a dream of mine. Like you said, most people, their dream is to go to some beautiful resort on some island. My dream was to go to Ethiopia, to be with the poorest of the poor, and just love on these people and like, Lord, use me. How can I help? I want to do something, even if it's just one person. You know, the kids, people, I know they love my heart deep down, but, you know, people are always like, you can't bring them all home and you can't change everybody's life. But if you can change the world for one person, then that changes everything. That changes the whole world for that person.
Yeah.
So I remember when I told him we had 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls.
And we were done.
And
I've always wondered what this
he got his
snipped.
Yeah, he got his snipping done, and he was officially done. And
she comes to me and says,
I've always wanted to adopt. I want to adopt. He's like, babe, we've got 2 boys, 2 girls. I think we're good.
We're pretty even in the house.
We're even. We got 2 boys to buy. And I said, ever since I was a little girl, it's something I always wanted to do. I want to adopt from Ethiopia. And he at first was not, on board with it. And I was praying and praying and praying. And I always tell people, if you want prayers answered, just continue to pray and pray and pray. I got so many stories. We could go into that too. But anyway, so his heart finally opened up.
Well, it's not that I wasn't on board.
I'm not trying to make you. Most guys aren't on board with adoption right now.
It wasn't that I was on board.
Most husbands.
Yes. It's just how we think differently. See, you were thinking adopt, nurture, love. And you said, for me, adopt, I'm thinking of, okay, how am I going to take care of it?
Okay, yeah. So I know I said I was going to make a long story short, and let me know if we need to, because I know Preston will do his editing techniques to try to shorten up Crystal's long stories. Yeah. But
I'll put it all in there.
Okay, so you can speed me up, and make me go real fast and sound like it. Anyway. So
your intro.
Exactly. So where was I going with that? What's the last thing I said? I forgot that fast. What was the last thing I said? Praying. Okay, so let me go back. So this is why he was not on board. So people think I'm successful now in my skincare business and everything that, that we have because of God. They think it's because he played in the NFL. Well, what people don't know is he played 4 years in the league, and he was a minimum, what do you call it? Minimum salary player.
Not a big contract, not the $1 million contract.
But it was still big for us, coming from welfare families.
Still getting money. I'm not,
And Michael, I'm going to say this. It's like, it's easy. It's hard to win a lottery ticket. It's really hard to be in the NFL. So,
oh my gosh, I tell people that all the time. I'm like, for him to even make it to the NFL, the odds. What are the odds? You said it's like
crazy.
I don't know. You shared the numbers before, but it's crazy to even make it to that level. So I'm so proud of him that he made it in 4 years, and every year we'd be stressed out through camp. Is he going to make it? Because they would start out with
83 players,
and they would get it down to 52. And every year he made it. I was like, thank you, Lord. But anyway, so after 4 years of him playing, he had an injury during preseason. It was the year the Titans went to the Super Bowl. And that preseason year, he had an injury. And how long after the injury?
They put me on injured reserve.
And it wasn't a career-ending injury. It was a high ankle sprain. It was nothing that would keep him out of the NFL. But
so they put me on injured reserve, and then after I actually healed up and got better, they released me after that.
So
was that hard?
Oh my gosh!
Yes, it was very hard.
He had to come home and tell me
that they're releasing me.
That was our only source of income. We didn't have a backup plan. We didn't have a plan B. He had a college degree, but we didn't have. You know what I mean? And we just had Michael Jr. So we had 2 kids at the time. Yeah. We just had Michael Jr.
But that's hard, having 2 little kids.
Well, I mean, of course, in my mind, you think, we always think we're going to play forever.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen. And this is a small injury. I'll get over this and get back at it. And then all of a sudden,
it was rug pulled out from underneath us.
Other people have different plans, and then you're no longer.
Yeah, it was just taken away like that.
So
yeah.
So
long story short, we ended up living off of the savings. He was trying to get picked up by another team. He ended up playing for this other league in New York. It was an XFL league that only lasted a year. He played. We lived up in New York for a year. Came back. We depleted our savings, and we ended up broke.
Yep.
So here we are. He busted his butt his entire life to make it to the NFL. Makes it there. We're thinking that's going to be the way to make our kids' dreams come true, to give them a better
golden
life.
ticket.
Our goal, and bam, just like that, it was taken away
gone.
from us, and then we ended up completely broke.
Which goes to what I always share when I'm talking to the kids or coaching to the kids, that you want to make it to the NFL. I'm like, that's great. Don't stop that. Don't ever. I said, but you got to understand, NFL doesn't stand for the National Football League. It stands for not for long.
Yeah, so you better have a plan B.
But have a backup plan.
Yeah, because you never know. Most guys.
But that's hard when that's your dream.
Yeah. Running backs, 'cause that was his position. They averaged 3 years in the league.
2.5.
2.5 years in the league.
2.5 years.
So he beat the odds from the average.
Yeah.
He surpassed the average. But anyway, so we ended up broke again. And before my skincare business came into our life, he was trying to get a job.
I remember all of that.
He has a college degree, but he would go on these interviews and they'd talk football with him. Man, that's so great. They talk
would
football
love my
stories. And they're like, well, we can't hire you.
Well, we can't hire you. You don't have enough experience.
I'm like, he's like, I have a
I
bachelor's
said,
degree.
I played
but
football for 5 years.
Right.
I have a degree. I'm trying to get that experience. I'm hoping you would give me an opportunity to gain that experience.
Right.
No, we can't hire you.
So a friend of ours that has a, what do you call it? Not building. Construction. It was framing houses.
That actually shocks me.
Yeah.
I mean, I never realized that. That shocks me.
Yeah. He ended up, our friend gave him a job, and he went from, I always share this in my story, he went from playing in the NFL on ESPN to sweeping floors at a construction site to help, and we made, $500 a week?
Yep.
He made $500 a week. We're so thankful. But, I always talk about him, and I always cry when I talk about how amazing my husband is, because he's so humble. He never complained. He never acted like he was better than that. Most NFL guys would be like, I'm not sweeping floors. He's like, I've got to take care of these kids. I've got to take care of my family. And he never complained. He did what he had to do, and then God ended up promoting him to get a job at the church we were attending. He ended up putting him in a place in the finance department. He loves numbers. Ended up becoming the accountant without having a CPA degree. God completely opened that door, and so that was great. But then still, we were still paycheck to paycheck, getting just up to our eyeballs in debt from losing everything, taking things to the pawn shop, having garage sales. Michael Jr. and Malik, they'd come home from school. And they'd be like, "Where's my video games? I can't find my video game." Sometimes we had to take them to the pawn shop to pay a bill.
Take the video games and pawn them.
Do they know that now?
Oh yeah,
they know it now.
We would have to take it to pay a bill, or we were going to get electricity shut off. And we had friends help us. And so anyway, I was praying for a way to make extra income to take the pressure off of him, but I still wanted to be at home with the kids. God answered my prayer with my skincare business. Okay, but let me go back to Africa and my adoption. So here we are. We're struggling financially, paycheck to paycheck, like I said, having garage sales and pawning our kids' toys so we can pay bills. And I come to him and say, but I want to adopt and add another mouth to feed.
So,
Now
when she said I wasn't on board, I was on board, but my mind was just scrambling.
How are you going to pay for
how are we going to
it? I have to be honest, even me, at this phase in my life, I would think, because I would love to adopt, and I've shared that, my kids know this, I've always wanted to adopt. But you have to pay for it. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's not just the emotional and mental. And for me, my issue was I was working so much. I didn't see how I could stretch anymore.
Yeah.
But financially also, I don't think it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And we did not have $100, let alone I think it was $30,000 for the adoption.
Yes.
And we're like, what in the world? So anyway, I'm going to share a quick God story, if you don't mind.
I would love
so
it. Yeah.
Whenever I came to him and I said, I want to adopt, so we initially thought young.
Yeah.
Okay, younger than our youngest. Most adoption agencies, they require you to adopt in birth order. So they say you go from your youngest biological child and you adopt younger than them. But the agency we were with, thank goodness, they didn't have that requirement. Well, we were thinking like 4 or 5.
Yes.
We were thinking around that age, younger than Malik at the time. And I kept telling him when he said, babe, but we don't have the money. I said, I've been praying about it, and I heard as clear as day, God just said, don't worry about the how, the when, the why, like how it's all going to come into place. Just trust me. Yeah. Like with all of my heart, with all of my spirit, the Lord said, just trust me, take the leap of faith. And I told him that. He's like, okay, babe.
Okay.
He always tells me, he's like, you have a way with hearing from God. He's like, okay. So he's like, whatever you said.
Step out on faith. Let's do it.
So when we were going through kids, you know, you go through these waiting children's lists and you can look online and this kid get to kept popping up and I couldn't get him out of my head. And I would tell him, I said, babe, he's older. He's 10. And he said, babe, I thought we said like 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
You know, 10 years old, that's harder. And then they come with more challenges, you know, because they've already, you know, they're living in orphanages and you don't know what they've been through, abuse and things. And he's like, it might be harder. And I said, I know, but I just feel like I can't get him out of my head. I can't sleep at night. God's waking me up. And I remember the kids were little. Now they all lock their doors and don't let me in their room. But when they were little, when they were sleeping, I'm like, quit locking your door. What if there's an emergency? But when they were young and used to let me, they'd be sleeping and I would go in every night and they'd be sound asleep. They don't even know I even did this. And I'd go over and put my hand on them and I would pray for them, say a prayer before I go to bed. And I remember one night talking to him about Get To and him being older. And I went in to pray for Michael, and Michael was 13 at the time.
13.
He was 13 at the time. And when I went to pray for him, immediately, I've never heard God audibly, but you could tell when the Holy Spirit's speaking to you. And I hear, what if that was Michael Jr. on that waiting children's list? What if that was him on there, and nobody would give him a chance just because he was older? He's waiting in an orphanage, and nobody will pick him just because he's older. Everybody wants the cute little kids. Everybody wants the babies, the toddlers, the ones under 5. You know, they don't want the kids with the issues, you know.
Because it's a little bit more challenging.
Right. I told him, literally in tears, he's like, okay, then we're adopting Get To. Let's start this process. So again, we have no money, okay? We have no money.
And that's hard. That's a leap of faith.
Oh, totally faith.
It really is.
We're struggling. And let's back up. Before we started the adoption process, he gets a phone call one day from his football agent.
Haven't heard from him for about 5 or 6 years.
Maybe longer than that.
Maybe longer than that.
Haven't heard from his football agent in a long time. He calls him one day and says...
He asked me about an injury settlement. He asked me, did I play in California?
Get closer.
And I said, yeah. He said, well, there's a workers' comp injury settlement that's going on in California if you play there. And so I said, yeah. And he said, well, I'm sending you some paperwork. All you need to do is fill it out. You may need to fly to California to do a physical and all that and everything. And I was like, all right, well, send it to me. And he sent me the paperwork and we filled it out and I sent it back.
Forgot about it. Never heard anything. Didn't fly out to do a physical.
I didn't have to fly out to do the physical. So right when the money was coming due to pay for all the expenses for the adoption.
Oh, yeah. So let me tell you this. Sorry, I mean to interrupt you.
I've never heard this. I love this story.
So we step out in faith. We're adopting. Not too many people know, but we had to get our home study, and it was like $1,200 for a home study.
I did a home study. We were adopted from Guatemala, and I got pregnant with Crider.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't let us bring her home. But anyway.
So you have to do the home study first.
Home study.
So it was $1,200. We didn't even have $1,200. Somebody in my skincare business, I just started my skincare business, somebody donated nobody knew we needed $1,200. They donated exactly the $1,200. I immediately messaged them crying. I was like, you had no idea, like, we needed this home study. Anyway.
We never said an amount.
So as I'm working my skincare business, I'm making a little bit here and there, and I'm trying to help to pay, it's like $100 here and there at the beginning. And we were getting down to the wire, and the agency was like, we need $10,000 due right now, or you guys can't go to court. You have a court appointment coming up. You're not going to be able to go to court. And I call him crying. I'm like, I'm in tears. We can't go to court. We don't have $10, let alone $10,000.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to catch up with the story. Whenever you heard back from the agent.
So right when all this was coming due, I got a phone call back from California, the place where they were doing the workers' comp. And they gave me the news. They said they settled out of court. And so they told me what the settlement amount was I was going to receive and I couldn't believe it. So
after I just got done crying to him and saying we don't have $10,000,
Right.
he's like, "Are you sitting down?"
I called her and said, "You need to sit down."
He's like, "You're not gonna believe this." He's like, "Okay, you told me God said don't worry about how, just trust me."
Yeah.
He's like, "Babe, I just got off the phone."
I just got off the phone and they settled out of court for $110,000.
He said the check is on the way.
Check's on the way.
Unbelievable.
God literally saved that
gives me
money.
goosebumps.
Literally saved that money for right when we needed it, at the exact time we needed it, right down to the wire.
Because I could have did this 2 years before and still got the same amount.
So God literally landed
is
that money.
amazing.
So we were able to take all of the kids over when we picked up Get You to bring them home. We were able to take all of them over, go to his orphanage, and so they could
So-
see where their
Was that your
brother.
first time there?
No, not ours. Michael
Not
Jr.
ours.
went with us the first time, and we took all the kids to bring them home the second time. So that goes back to Ethiopia. The first time I landed was for our court appointment, me, you, and Michael Jr., and I literally cried being on the ground in Ethiopia because it was my dream. So then after we bring Get You back, you see all these.
What was the healthcare? I do want to talk about that because
Okay.
I've never. What was it like there, Crystal?
So with I didn't find out about healthcare over there until I started going over with mission teams and leading mission teams over there, and then I would take people to the hospital and.
Was it healthy in the orphanage?
No,
the kids
no,
taken care of?
no. It's so
I just
unsanitary.
think a lot of people don't understand because our conditions here,
Yeah, it's
compared to, I mean, I'm like, yeah,
so
travel a lot,
intense.
so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very different, and I think
Very
people
different.
need to understand that
Yeah.
because it's our orphanages here, which I've been to many of them,
Yeah.
and our foster homes and stuff. They're not perfect either,
Right.
right? They're not great
Right.
either, but the health usually
Yeah.
is that.
Yeah.
Because we have so many standards.
Right.
And it's
Right.
different. Like when you go to Mexico, Nigeria, Ethiopia, it's just very different.
It's different.
Yeah.
So where his orphanage was out in the countryside, and it's better than in the city, I would have to say. They have less. Like, first time we took him into the city. So we took him from the countryside to the city, which is about 2 hours, right?
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours to the city of Addis Ababa. And it was his first time seeing a toilet. Yeah. Having and it wasn't anything nice in the city either, but it was so new to him to even have a toilet because he was used to going to the bathroom in a hole, hole in the ground, a little hole in the ground.
I did interview Preston. Probably he heard it with Gazelia, and she was in Pakistan, and then India, and it was the same thing.
Yeah.
She saw a toilet in London and was like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
Yeah. When we
Climbed on the top of it.
Yeah.
When we brought him back, all the kids and Michael Jr., when we got to D.C., we landed, Michael Jr. took him to the bathroom and, the dryer.
Yeah.
And he went up, tried to show him the dryer, and he jumped back because it freaked him out. He's like, what the heck
Yeah.
is, a vacuum scared him the first
Yeah.
time. I remember one time when we turned on our gas fireplace. He was home.
He's amazed by
He was
that.
a few weeks home.
Yeah.
We went over. We didn't even think about it. It's
Yeah.
just so common. It's so normal for us. We just go over and turn on the fire, and he was like,
What?
happened?
he went over and got down. Like, wait, how?
Wait a minute, how'd you do
fire
that?
just happened when she just turned
Because you touched that button.
because they're out there like
magic.
building a fire. You know what I mean? They're building a
Yeah.
fire, and we just go over there and flip a switch. Oh, there's a fireplace.
What kind of food and water?
They
and stuff?
eat injera with everything, and they have certain spices. Every meal is injera. But in the orphanage, they
But
were
most
only
people don't know what that is.
okay.
So-
It's like a spongy. How do you describe it?
Bread.
It's like bread, but it's not. It's sour and it's spongy. It grosses Jayla out. It's got holes in it, but they don't use utensils. So they just take off a piece of the injera and then they'll scoop up
All
whatever
the food and
they
eat
make.
it. Yeah.
But the hospitals there, when I've gone there, there's a young boy recently that passed. He was 13. Mogus. Actually, when we were in Ethiopia the last time, I took them with us before he had died. He had a heart condition. But the kids, he couldn't believe it. The hospital was like, yeah, I try to tell you guys how bad it is. People are laying on the floor.
That
There's
was my first.
It's so different.
Yeah,
Filthy.
that was my first
Filthy.
experience with the hospitals over there.
Well, that's why I really wanted you to talk. That's why I wanted to bring it in
my.
because I've been to many countries in the Middle East, Eastern Europe, in Asia, even I don't want to talk bad about different
I know.
countries, but I would go.
They do with best what they
It's
got.
not like
yeah.
a hospital,
Right,
though. I don't
no.
think people understand
No.
when you go to the hospital there, especially if you don't have money.
Right.
It's just like there's bodies on the ground and not even clean things on there, and
Correct.
there's not soap in the bathroom.
Right.
And I did do. I mean, I shouldn't probably say this on it, but even with China, my first thing was like, I think we need to have, soap in the bathrooms in hospitals.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
People literally know all over ground. Bugs everywhere, no sanitation.
Everywhere.
So Mogus, we go and we meet him at the hospital. He's got a heart condition, and he's not doing good. They don't even have a bed for him. He's literally sitting in a chair like this. He looks like he's about to pass at any moment. The poor kid is so weak and so frail. He was 13. He probably weighed about 50 pounds, maybe not even that. And the doctor brings out a water bottle.
A regular water
A
bottle.
water bottle
Like that.
with his urine in it. It's all blood. All blood. They don't even have... So in order to treat them, he's telling me how bad he is. He's like, this is his urine.
Yeah.
They go out shint. And he's like, it's all blood, but not in any medical, normal medical supply.
No.
But so any kind of treatment, I had to go there. If he needs an IV, you have to pay for it first. Then they go get it. Then they bring it back. If he needs
They have to
a Band-Aid, I'm just whatever.
travel to go get the IV.
Do you know what I mean? If you need anything, we go to the hospital. We have people meeting us if it's an emergency. They're putting us on a bed. They're hooking us up to everything.
Right.
No, you have to pay for things.
Yeah.
Then they get it. And if you don't pay for it ahead of time, sorry, no luck. You're just going to sit here and die.
You pay for it and you don't get it.
Right.
Right.
And even in some of the countries that are more westernized, I don't know what worked, even like in Europe, you have countries, which I think a lot of people don't know this, but the doctors are paid, $20 an hour. So if you really want to get good care, you're giving them money.
Yeah.
On the side.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember going into Hungary and, where were we? Austria. Like in countries, you're like, what? Wait, this is but in the country, that's how it's done.
Oh, yeah.
You have to make sure. But I was glad that I was taught that because you don't know that coming from over here.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I remember the first time I went to the hospital, I was completely shocked. I was like, wow. I mean, our animals here are better taken care of.
Yeah.
Our animals
Right.
are better taken care of.
Well, someone said to me the other day, they said, we don't understand why people go to other countries to help when you need to help in our country.
Oh, I hear that all the time. It makes my blood boil.
Let me explain something. You haven't been to some of those
Exactly.
countries. You have no idea. I do think we should help our country.
Oh, absolutely.
But I also think there's children in other countries that have nothing, and the nothing there is very different.
Completely different.
There's not even a chance almost sometimes.
Right. I tell people I hear that. I used to hear that all the time.
So what do you use?
And I would tell them, there are people that are poor in America. Yes, absolutely. Dirt poor, homeless people. But we do have a welfare system. They can, if they apply for welfare, they can get food, they can get assistance, they can get medical. There's none of that over there.
They live on the streets.
They live on the streets.
And I think that's really hard.
Yeah.
It's devastating to see, though.
Oh, yeah.
You see all those kids living on the street, and then they're basically begging to go to the orphanage.
Oh, yeah.
Because they just want something to eat or to, I know this sounds weird, but to be able to kick a soccer ball. Oh, yeah. Because they don't have money to do anything.
Oh, yeah. We would take soccer balls and you swear we brought them a Lamborghini,
You give them a book, and they're like, they think you're the best person in the world because they don't see books.
Yeah.
It's a very different.
I remember one time I took a team out. We went out at 4 a.m. because there's a lot of street, people sleeping on the sidewalks. And they're street kids. You see a lot of teenagers and 12, 11, and they're out begging, for whatever. I mean, just little 10-year-olds. But one day at 4 a.m, we went out to take blankets out. And I went over, and there was a big burlap sack on the sidewalk. It was cold. People think Africa's hot. Like, some parts of Africa are hot, but not all parts.
Really cold.
Africa is humongous and is all different. And there's parts that are very cold, and it gets cold at night in Ethiopia. And I went over this burlap sack, and I lifted it, thinking I was going to see some grown men under there, like a couple guys. And they were little kids all snuggled up together, covered up, freezing with a burlap sack. I lost it. It was one of my first few trips. And the people that were with me, they're like, "Are you okay?" And I handed them the blankets, and I went to the van, and I just started bawling because when I lifted that open off of them, my kids' faces flashed before my eyes. It's like, I can't imagine my children sleeping on a sidewalk, and there was no parents with them. No. There was nobody with them. They're just on the sidewalk,
And people don't understand that their mothers, they sometimes there's no option to raise them. Like people, like I've heard so many times people judgmentally say, "Well, they're mothers." I'm like, you don't understand. They're mothers. Some of them got pregnant when they were 12, 13. I mean, honestly, and they love the children, but they can't even take care of food for their own life.
I get mothers come up to me all the time begging me to take their child.
Yeah,
they love their child so much, but they want.
But you can't take them just out of the country, because I have it happen to me every time I go to another. Just grabbing onto me, please, and I'm like, I can't take them.
Yeah, I know. It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely hard. I have a really horrible story. Well, it's good, but it's so sad. A friend of mine, she adopted a brother and sister from Ethiopia, and the mother loves her children so much. But she put them up for adoption because, like you said, just desperate.
She wants a better life.
And my friend, one that adopted,
which I would say is part of loving a child.
Yeah,
like
sacrifice.
The sacrifice, because there's no greater pain, in my opinion, than that.
Yeah.
And when it was time for them to come back to the States, the mom came because she wanted to say goodbye to her kids. Oh, I can't tell a story without crying. My friend said to watch her children that she hardly knows, she's just adopting them. They are clinging for dear life onto their mother, wailing, screaming, like, don't take me. They're trying to pull the kids off of the mother. The mother's wailing. The kids are wailing. I mean, she said it was the most horrific thing. And she goes, I'm taking these kids away from their birth mother.
She was giving them a better life. Yeah. I'm sure she stays in touch with the birth.
Oh, yeah. She takes the kids back and stays in touch with them. But to take children away from their birth, but the mother wants it. It's hard for her, but she wants them to have a better life, to not struggle, to have food, to have an education. You know what I mean? So people have no idea. Oh, I know. She said it was the worst thing she's ever experienced in her life, taking kids away from their biological mom. It was just, she was adopting. It's not like she did it out of, the mother put them up for adoption. Yeah. But it's, with Getu, his parents both passed when he was young. And his uncle put him in the orphanage and kept his sister. His sister's older. So we go back all the time. His sister, we always spend time with her every time we go, and Getu goes back, and he works every day, and he sends his sister money to help take care of her. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's older. She's in her 20s now. Yep. She's in her 20s. But yeah, there's so many stories that I could share, but Ethiopia is just a huge part of my heart. And then my organization called Treasured, why I started that, there's this community that I go to. It's my favorite place to be in Ethiopia. People are always shocked when I tell them this. They're like, you, Crystal, who loves sparkly things, you love to be in a trash dump. I'm like, yes, it makes me so happy. Literally, there's about 100 and some thousand or more people that live in or amongst or around this trash dump community.
They do the same thing in there's Nigeria is a place where I've gone. Yeah. They do that in India, and people have a hard time understanding it. Yeah. But it's kind of interesting. Yeah. It's like there's fire pit where I've been, but I didn't believe it at first. And I saw the show. What was it from India? Not show. There was a show about the orphanages in India and how they cut off the arms So I went to see it, and I didn't go to this exact place, but I know it's a. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite places to be. I'm not like Crystal.
But she loves it every time we go over. And
I love it.
She's glowing every time she gets in that environment.
I know I'm exactly where God has me to be. Yeah. And you're in this trash dump. They're making their homes out of the trash. Yeah.
And they're actually kind of colorful.
Yeah, it's like very colorful. Yeah, you're watching little small kids.
Some of them have televisions. Yeah, one of the tents I went into had the biggest television, and I was thinking, well, gosh, my kids would love that television. Like it's so big, and all these people around it, watching.
I don't know if I've seen TV.
But it's like they make their own homes.
Yeah, they make their own homes
within the
recycle
area.
Whatever. Yeah, but to see small kids digging through the trash, they don't have shoes on, bugs on their faces. They're digging through somebody's trash. I mean, it's the smells beyond, but it's so crazy. It's like God even helps me with that. I'm so used to it. It doesn't even faze me anymore. Like it doesn't even bother me. But I am exactly where I love to be. I go to these people's homes, visit with them, pray with them, help them go to the hospital. I have some crazy stories of things that I've seen. and helping to take people to the hospital. And then I'm advocating. So it's not about me. It's not about, oh, Crystal, you're like, oh, look what she's doing. No, it's not about me. That's not why I share any of this. When I go, I'm advocating and telling other people so that they can get involved. So helping to get other families sponsored, other kids. One time I was like, I'm going over there. These people sleep on the mud. I want to do mattresses. If you all help, we're going to give away, I forget how many hundreds of mattresses that we were able to. And I was like, it's because of you guys. You know?
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you brought this up, because I think another thing that I wish we could share with everyone is that in those communities, there's good and bad. Like there's wonderful homes where there's love. I know there are tents. I know they've made them out of the trash.
Yeah.
But the odd thing is, you feel the love between the different people in the community. And that's why I guess for me, there's kind of a lack of fear when it comes to different things. Yeah. I shouldn't say lack of. I just understand that there's different callings and there's different places to be, and that you can make it in different environments. It doesn't have to be Brentwood, Tennessee, or New York City, LA, right? But you can find happiness and help people. So for me, it's not the lack of money that's the biggest issue there. It's the lack of the ability to pay for basics. Do you know what I mean? If you could get everyone the basics. But I do think that's the biggest difference, is that we here in the United States, at least we can provide basics.
Exactly.
Over there, the basics,
they don't even have running water.
Well, the number one thing,
they don't have running water.
The number one thing I used to say every time we would leave Ethiopia, I'm like, why do I feel like I just left a place where they are so much happier?
Yeah, they have joy, and
we have all this stuff over here, but I'm like, those are some happy and appreciative people over there.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness! It's just in the love.
Well, they don't have to worry. I mean, there's a part of that where they have to worry about all this stuff, but they don't have to worry about what everyone else thinks of them.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because they've had to worry about just food and water, so that other stuff's not.
Right.
And it brings you back to what's really important.
Exactly.
It really does.
Exactly.
To me, India, for whatever reason, is
I've
one
always
of the
wanted to
for
go
me.
there. I haven't been there.
You would like I'm just telling you, based on Ethiopia and India, you would love it. And I don't want to leave when I'm there, because I feel, and there's a lot of things that are not great.
Right. Oh,
the children begging, the drugs. It's just horrible. Yeah. But there's a lot of joy too.
Right.
And I just feel like, kind of like you with Ethiopia, I feel like it's a place where I'm one of my happiest times. Not worried about any of the stuff here.
Yep. Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But I think probably both of you guys could be placed in almost any environment. And because of how you've navigated and your foundation. So I do have to, before we end, ask you guys, what was the biggest challenge of your life and how you overcame it? What skill did you have? And Crystal, I heard you talk about faith and God. It's the same with me, and Michael said the same thing. But what other advice, since knowing that is the basic, that's the most important, what is your advice? What was the hardest thing, and how did you overcome it? And what's your advice to others to help them? Because you guys were on welfare. You were not raised with a lot of money. You were not raised with a lot of resources and education that we term, as education. But you became more successful than people that had a lot, right? So it's inside of you why that has happened. And I'd love you guys to share that. Because one of the things I really want to bring the audience is the ability to help people get there, even if they don't have the support at home, right? Even if they don't have all the resources they need.
Yep. For me, and I'll let you end. You can wrap up, because I do all the talking.
Yeah, mine's going to be short and sweet.
For me,
so maybe I should go first.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. For me, it is mindset. I had to I had to let go of the stinking thinking. Well, I've heard somebody else mention that before. I had the dreams, and I said I was going to do this and do that, and I was not going to end up on welfare, and I was going to do different and make something of myself. But I had the insecurities. I was a stay-at-home mom, not educated, no experience in anything besides changing diapers and carpooling kids around, So I didn't have the confidence, and I had junk going on up here saying I'm not good enough, comparing myself with other people. I can't do it like them. I can't do it like so-and-so. The belief level, like once a light bulb went off, that's when everything started changing. And what you speak about, you bring about.
Yeah.
The Bible says it. It's even proven scientifically.
That's so true.
What you speak about, you bring about. And I'm always writing things down, affirmations, speaking things, thanking God for things in advance, even when they seem so crazy, like that. I don't know how I would ever achieve that. I speak it, I believe it, I pray about it, I thank God for it, I write it down, and everything so far, praise God, everything I've written down, everything that I believed, I have achieved. God gets all the glory for that. But I had to get out of my own way. I had to stop the stinking thinking I wasn't good enough and comparing myself with other people, and change my mindset. I had to say, I can do this. I can do this. So that's I try to teach people that all the time. Like, it doesn't matter your education, where you came from, how you were brought up, what you have, how much money you have, what you look like. It doesn't matter with any of that. It's what's in here and here.
Absolutely.
Right.
And people get in their own way.
Yeah.
I could still be listening to all the crap that I heard as a kid and keep putting my mind there and saying, I'm not good enough. I'm just going to end up like everybody else in my town. But I didn't. I had to change that. And when that, like I said, when that light bulb went off, that's when things started to change for me. Yeah. Because I was like, and I did. I gave it to God. I said, I can't do this alone. I need your help. Literally laid it all at his feet. And here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
And I love when you write things down in your vision boards. I've been in your bathroom. I've seen the vision board. Even years ago, Crystal Archie with the pictures. And I'm like, wait a minute, where's my vision board? I love that.
I'm always telling the kids it's so important.
So now I got to think of something different, because, I mean, this is where we're a match. And the biggest challenge I had to overcome when I was younger, growing up where I grew up, was watching all these athletes that were what I would consider better than me, not make it out, or not work hard or do the things that they need to do to get out. So I would always have these doubts, or I would have these thoughts come in my head, and these thoughts would be, "You're never going to make it out." And so I had to change my thinking, like she just said, that no, that's a lie. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be that. I am going to make it out, and I'm going to show you I'm going to make it out. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do the things that I need to do that's necessary for me to make it out. I'm going to make smart decisions. I'm going to be a good student in school, on a roll, and just use my gift as being a talent, my gift, that the talent that God gave me to be able to get me to where I needed to be. Because one of the biggest things in my area was, I used to hear some of the other guys say, you think you're good, but you'll just end up on the street just like the rest of them. And I was like, no, I will not. And so once I made up my mind that would not be me, and then started working so hard for it not to be me, then things started to change. And then you start dreaming, and then it's like, oh, okay, so once I got out of high school, I got a scholarship to go to Penn State University. Oh man, where else can I go with this dream? What else can I do with it? So once that started to compile up, and it's like, all right, now I want to go to the NFL. All right, so how hard do you got to work to get that? So it's just because when you start dreaming, and things start to happen, that's when you start having more belief in yourself, and then you just keep it going. And then here we are today. And even when the NFL is over, it's like, all right, what's next? What else can we?
Cute. You see how I'm petting his head? When we first started dating, I was doing this, and he goes, "You don't do that to a black man. You don't go backwards. You go forward. You can't do that to our hair." He's like, "You have to go forward.
You're going against the grain."
Is that right?
Yes, you have to. Okay. Yeah, because they're waves. Anyway,
waves.
The moral.
The waves go forward,
and it goes this way. But the moral of the story is the moral of the story is people have to come into something not with, I'm going to try and I hope and I wish this would happen. They have to have the mentality, no, I'm going to do this. I don't know how long it's going to take me. I know there's going to be ups and downs. I know I failed my way to success. You have to have, I'm going to do this. I don't care how long it takes me. I'm not giving up mentality.
Yeah, because you're going to fail, or it's going to be you're going to have a bad month or a bad view. I mean, you are. Right. So you have to just keep going.
Right.
I think it's one of the biggest things I've always said. I'm not that smart. I'm not that beautiful. I'm not that, whatever term you want to say, but I don't quit.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And even when there's days I cry.
Oh,
and
yeah.
think, oh my gosh, I feel sorry for myself. I don't, but I just get up anyway.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And there's days I've thought, I'm not getting out of bed today. I'm too upset. I'm not getting out of bed. And then, an hour later, I'm like, and trying to stay out of everyone's way so I can just get through the day, but focus on because it's a new day. We're blessed to have that day.
Right.
And you can make it something very special.
Exactly. Like you said earlier, people see successful people and they think, oh, they got lucky. They don't realize they failed over and over and over again to get where they are.
Oh, yeah. They never think that.
They failed over and over and over again and got knocked down and had to get back up and got knocked down and had to get back up. They don't see all that. They don't see that backstory. No. They just think, oh.
Automatic success.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for being.
Well, thank you.
I probably talked too long.
No, you didn't. I loved it because I think it's going to be a great testimony to your lives and how other people can help their lives. And again, this goes back to me mentally, emotionally, psychologically. All of that is so important to our health. So if you can, in your mind, think good thoughts. If you get in your mind that you're not going to lose and you're not going to quit, you just have to keep going.
Right.
Then you can impact not just your daily life and the rest of your life, but also your physical health. And we say it all the time when we would do studies with people. It's changing a little bit now, unfortunately, but we would tell them to have people pray for them and to, really focus on healing their bodies. And a lot of people didn't understand that, but we've seen time after time after time. I'm sure you guys know this, where people have gotten healed and gotten better because they mentally just knew. They mentally knew.
Yeah. Exactly.
Emotionally knew. And then it also does help, and I'm sure you guys know this, to have people around you that believe your dreams.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you so much for you guys being on the show. It was really enjoyed it. So I love you too. Love you both, and I love the whole family. So I can't wait to see everyone on the next episode. I will miss this one because I really enjoyed hearing more and learning. I think I learned more I've been around you guys probably more than anyone on the podcast, but I learned a lot today. And those are questions I've never asked.
Right.
So anyway, hopefully you guys did learn a lot because they've had an amazing journey. And I hope this can help you because life is tough. But if you can mentally be tougher, physically, emotionally, spiritually, then you can get to the next level. So thank you so much. I'll see you guys on the next show.
Bye.